From Telangana, Sammakka grew up among the Koya. She was not exactly like the other children. Around the year 1200, in the deep teak forests of what is now central Telangana, a group of Koya tribesmen on a hunt came upon a strange scene. A tigress lay on the forest floor, very still. She was not asleep. She was watching them. Beside her, curled against her warm side, lay a small human baby girl. The tigress did not attack. She seemed to be guarding the child. The hunters approached very slowly. The tigress watched them for a long minute. Then she stood up, looked once at the child, looked once at the hunters, and walked away into the forest. The child was left behind. The hunters carried her back to their village. They named her Sammakka. Sammakka grew up among the Koya. She was not exactly like the other children. She seemed to know things she had not been taught. She could find herbs in the forest that cured fevers. She could calm a wounded animal with a word. She could predict where a hunting party would find game. The Koya elders decided, by the time she was 12, that Sammakka was an incarnation of the goddess herself. A divine being given to the tribe by the forest. The chieftain of the small kingdom of Medaram, a Koya Raja named Pagididda Raju, eventually asked Sammakka to marry his son, Prince Madhav. She agreed. They had two daughters, Saralam and Nagulamma, and a son named Jampanna. The kingdom flourished. The rains came on time. The teak forests grew thick. The Koya were prosperous, by their standards, for many years. But the small Koya kingdom of Medaram was not independent. It was a tributary state. It owed an annual tribute to the great Kaktiya Empire ruling from Warangal to the east. The Kaktiya king Prataparudra was a powerful ruler. Each year his tax officers came to collect grain and gold and forest produce from Medaram. In normal years, the Koya could pay. In bad years, they could not. And one year, around 1270, the rains failed completely. There were no crops to harvest. There was no honey to gather. The teak forests dried. The streams ran low. The Koya people were starving. Pagididda Raju and his son Madhav sent word to the Kaktiya court asking for mercy. We cannot pay this year, they wrote. Forgive us until next year. The Kaktiya king refused. He said, tribute is tribute. There is no excuse. He sent his army to enforce the collection. A mounted Kaktiya force, with elephants and infantry, marched into the Koya forests. They camped on the banks of the Jampanna stream, just outside Medaram. They demanded that Pagididda Raju surrender the grain that the Koya did not have. Pagididda Raju refused. He said, I cannot pay what does not exist. The Kaktiya commander gave the order to attack. The Koya tribal warriors, armed with bows, with spears, with axes, were vastly outmatched. They prepared, all the same, to fight. The battle was fierce. The Koya men fought from the trees. They used the forest. They knew the terrain. But the Kaktiya cavalry was overwhelming. Pagididda Raju was killed in the first hour. Prince Madhav, Sammakka's husband, was killed at noon. The Koya warriors fell one by one. Sammakka's son Jampanna, fighting beside the stream, was wounded so badly that he threw himself into the river rather than be taken alive. The Jampanna stream, the Koya say, ran red for many days. They renamed it after him. It is still called Jampanna Vagu today. By evening, Sammakka had lost her father-in-law, her husband, her son, and her younger daughter Nagulamma. Only she and her elder daughter Saralam were left. Sammakka did not weep. Saralam did not weep. The mother and the daughter put on their husbands' armor. They picked up the swords of their dead men. They walked together onto the battlefield at dusk. The Kaktiya soldiers, exhausted from a day of fighting, saw two women in armor walking toward them across the forest clearing. They laughed. They came to take the women alive. Sammak and Saralam fought side by side. The legend says they killed many. The Kaktiya commander, recognizing who they were, called for archers. He told them to bring the women down from a distance. Saralam fell first, struck by arrows in the chest. Sammakka, the records say, watched her daughter die. She let her body slip to the ground. She stood up. She raised her sword. And alone, she continued to fight. She wounded many more. She bled from many places. By the time the Kaktiya force surrounded her completely, the sun had set. She was the only Koya left standing. The commander finally drew his bow himself and shot her, and Sammakka, wounded mortally, walked backward, very slowly, into the dense teak forest behind her, leaving a trail of blood. The Kaktiya soldiers followed her, planning to take her body as a trophy. But she walked too fast for them. The trail of blood went on through the trees. The soldiers tracked it for hours by torchlight. At last, the trail ended at the base of a great teak tree, a kumkum tree. There was no body. There was only a casket-shaped vermilion stone, lying on the ground, the color of the blood she had been losing all day. Sammakka was gone. The Koya say she had walked into the tree itself and become one with the forest she had ruled. The Koya never forgot. From that year onward, every 2 years, they began a tradition. They returned to the spot where Sammakka had disappeared. They brought offerings. They danced and sang her name. The Kaktiya Empire eventually fell. The Koya remained. The tradition grew. Other tribes from the surrounding forests began to come. Then non-tribal Telugu villagers began to come. Then pilgrims from across South India began to come. Today, every 2 years, at the place called Medaram in the Mulugu district of Telangana, in the forests where Sammak and Saralam fell, the Medaram Jatra is held. It is the largest tribal religious gathering in the world. More than 10 million people walk to Medaram over 4 days. They bring jaggery, the color of dawn, as their offering. They light camphor. They chant the names of the two goddesses. They remember a Koya queen who walked into a tree to escape an empire, and who never came out again, and who became, by becoming the tree, a part of every Koya village forever. Tomorrow's story comes from another corner of India. Subscribe to walk with us through the folklore of every region, in your language.